What is simplicity? Before we can get it, we have to know what it is. And as I'll share with you today, there are actually lots of different definitions of simplicity, and that makes it hard to know which one might be right for us. Simplicity is possible, so my entire mission is to help you simplify your life. But again, before we can do that, we have to be on the same page about what simplicity means. I was surprised to learn that there are at least 6 different ways that the term simplicity gets thrown about, and it's very possible that I wasn't even capturing all the ways that are out there. So today I'm going to walk through the 6 existing definitions I found and then give you my own definition, what I decided simplicity means to me. Hi, I'm Amber. Thank you so much for being here. If you liked today's video, be sure and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe down below. Ring that bell so you get notified every time I make a new video. I don't know about you, but I have gone through some really crazy years, some very big changes in a relatively short amount of time, and before I knew it, I found myself literally going crazy with having too much to do, not enough time to do it, and losing all sense of who I was and what my purpose was along the way. So about a year ago, I found myself needing, for my own sanity, to simplify my life. And being an academic researcher, the first thing I did was see what the literature has to say on simplicity. And as I conducted this research, as I sought out any source I could find, I actually was surprised that there were many different definitions of simplicity. I found 6 different ways that simplicity seems to get used, and as I will talk about shortly, those definitions were all great, but they didn't necessarily resonate with me. They didn't seem like immediate changes I could make in my life, which left me wondering, is simplicity even possible? If you've wondered that same question, or if you are searching for greater simplicity in your life right now, wondering if there's a simpler way, a better way, a happier way, please stay tuned. Now, before we begin, let's establish what your definition of simplicity is. When you think of simplifying your life, what are some things that you want to simplify? And what do you see as the real definition of simplicity? The first definition of simplicity is the one used in the business world. The more we've developed these technological tools, the more crucial it's become for businesses and other users of technology to try and simplify how programs and applications speak to one another. So in this context, simplicity is all about syncing and synchronizing how platforms and applications work so that the user doesn't have to really be involved in making all that happen. The second definition of simplicity is the way that scientists are constantly talking about the new things we learn of the natural world. Every day in physics or astronomy, you name it, scientists are discovering amazing commonalities and patterns in the way that the world works. Things in nature are really quite simple, as it turns out. The third definition of simplicity is the one that's used in the financial realm. There's a growing movement of people, it's not a new thing, but it's a growing thing, where people are increasingly wanting to achieve financial independence and retire early. The whole point here is to be frugal and simplify our lives by living on a lot less than we make so that we can hurry up and get out of the rat race to ultimately stop trading our time for money. The fourth definition of simplicity is a pretty conventional one. It's so easy for us to think back to a simpler time in our life, to imagine an old historical era and think that things were actually better or more simple then. Now maybe that's true. Maybe we also think of rural living, maybe the Amish, some modern lifestyle that is not the typical one that we see in the suburbs and the big cities and kind of the standard American way of life. The fifth definition of simplicity applies to meditation, to having stillness in our minds and maybe surrounding ourselves with as much of a peaceful environment as possible. Perhaps we seclude ourselves in a religious community or go to a retreat so that we're not bombarded by all the noise of the modern world. And then the sixth definition of simplicity is the one that's associated with minimalism. This is the most common way that I think simplicity gets used nowadays, and it really refers to having fewer things, trying to get by with a lot less stuff and not let our things dictate how we run our lives. In this definition, simplicity is all about decluttering, getting rid of excess, and living with very few things so that our lives are simple and don't have extra clutter bringing us down. Does one of these definitions sound like simplicity to you? Let me know in the comments below which of these 6 definitions is most like what you think of when the word simplicity comes up. I want to make it so clear that I don't disagree with any of these definitions. I'm not here to challenge them, and I firmly believe that they are extremely valuable in their unique way. But I struggled to know how I could achieve simplicity when I was going through my very hard time. I wasn't in a situation where I could make some of the drastic changes that it seemed that each of those definitions required. So ultimately, I felt like I had 2 choices. I could either stay stuck in the hard situation I was going through, or I could figure out what simplicity means to me. And obviously that's what I did. I came up with my own definition, one that I could implement immediately and incrementally so that it's no longer something that we get or we have, but it's something we're working towards and that we are improving day upon day. I see simplicity as both a mindset and a methodology. The mindset piece is about working really hard to be joyful, to be full of peace and contentment, no matter how crazy our external circumstances. We always have the choice of what's running through our head and the narrative that we tell ourselves about what's going on. And with 3 little kids running around, still trying to balance a demanding career with family and relationships and all the other things that I and many of us have going on, my life doesn't look simple, believe me. In fact, there's so much chaos and complexity around me all the time, but I can still choose to have that inner peace, to have that calm inside my head, and it takes a lot of practice. I'm obviously a work in progress, but I do think that viewing simplicity as a mindset immediately brings it into reach for all of us. The methodology part is where I really want to share what I've learned. There are so many scientifically proven ways that we can be more productive and get more done in less time. So the methodology piece is all about simplifying the tasks we have on our plate. It's about ensuring we don't have more to do than time to do it. And again, this is where I've learned so many key science-backed ways that we can become more efficient, more productive, and more careful about what we take on so that we are setting realistic expectations and then hitting those balls out of the park, maximizing our success, and feeling better than ever. At this point, I hope you're saying that sounds nice, but how do we actually get simplicity? What do we do with my definition? I think the first step is to establish where we are. We need to take a really hard look at what's been going on, what we're frustrated with, what might be holding us back, and then we need to establish where we want to go. We need to really visualize what could be and set our sights on that better life. From there, we need to become so much more efficient. And again, this is where there are science-backed tactics we can take to be more productive, but also to be more discerning about the kinds of things we produce. Next, it's really important to enlarge our perspective. I have learned the hard way that we cannot measure success on the basis of any given day, week, sometimes even a month or months at a time. Life happens, and it's far too easy to get frustrated because we think that we should be at one place, or we should have so much done by a certain time, and it doesn't always happen like that. So instead, it's really critical to look back over a year or more, and only then do we see how much we actually got done. The final step to achieving simplicity is to embrace adversity. And we all have our different struggles. We might think that our struggles are harder than anybody else's, and hopefully we have the awareness that we actually have it pretty good, right? Many people have it far worse than we do. But no matter our individual struggles, those challenges are there for a reason. And the most important thing to remember is that they are shaping us into the person we are meant to become. Without those struggles, we don't get where we're meant to be in life. And changing our perspective on that makes a world of difference. All right, thank you so much for watching. I make new videos every week all about prioritization, productivity, time management, and that elusive thing we call work-life balance. If you're interested in joining me for the journey, please be sure and subscribe down below. Ring that bell so you get notified every time I make a new video. And please share this video with anybody who you think needs more simplicity in their life. The last thing I want to leave you with is a question. Does my definition of simplicity sound like something you would be interested in? If so, comment down below and write simplicity to show me that you're on board. Let me know your suggestions for how to simplify your life, and I can't wait to see you next time. Have a great day.